Just starting to open up the hive so that we can check and see how the girls are doing. It was 12 days before this that we first started looking at this swarm that had moved in and taken over. We and then it's now 9 days since we went from a single brood box that was full of a lot of liquid honey, or not honey, but syrup, and it had 2 frames that had about 50% brood on them, and then the upper box, the honey super, which is a shallow, had about half full of honey. So right now I'm just removing the super, left the inner cover on it so that we could see, get it out of the way. Now in this next layer we have 5 frames that were from the original, with 5 more frames that have about a 1-inch starter strip of wax on them. Other than that, they're foundationless. We just want to see what's going on. Are the girls working away? This hive had only ever been entered the twice before, and they were very nasty both times, and so I was giving them lots of smoke, trying to keep them from hitting me too much, because they're just not used to being handled. The temperature outside is about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It's February the 1st, 2018, in South Carolina. This is a friend who has had bees off and on for a few years, and last year, about September, he discovered that this swarm had moved into this hive, and he never bothered to find out what they really had or what they had going on. He just made sure that they had sugar syrup about 50 feet, 60 feet away from the front of the hive. From that was about October right up until now. He's tried to keep sugar syrup out whenever there was not too much rain. So the very first frame there, you see it's got just the 1-inch wax strip. This next frame is one that was pretty well full, but it's now it's got some honey on it and some pollen on it now. So this frame, 9 days ago, it was just a wax strip, and as you can see, it's about 50% built out, and you can't see in the video, but it actually has some brood laid in it. This you can probably notice the ring of honey just short ways from the outside, and then towards the center, that's lots of brood. This next frame, once again, lots of brood in it. It would be a little over half full of brood, with around the outside of it is pretty much very dark colored syrup. A lot of the syrup that he fed them was it was actually not sugar syrup, but it was Pepsi Cola concentrate for a fountain dispenser. So very high sugar, but also some coloring and dark coloring. That frame has pretty much one side totally covered, or about 3/4 covered with brood, and the other side about 50% brood. The girls are buzzing up around my arms pretty good, so I smoke my arms a bit. This is a frame that there's a little bit of honey, but mainly it's our dark syrup. The syrup all seemed quite concentrated. It wasn't runny. If you tipped the frame on its side, it didn't drip out. I didn't really try to shake it to see whether it would come out or not, but it didn't. It wasn't runny when you turn it on its side. So now I've got all the frames in this box back in place, putting back in these first two frames that came out so that we'll be able to move on to. So in that frame, the 5 empty frames that were put in, there's 2 of them with very little buildup. The other 3 are over 50% built up, and all 3 of those have some brood already laid in them. So the queen is very definitely getting well ramped up for spring. Now I'm lifting off that upper brood box so that we can check the lower brood box. We're hoping that in another 2 or 3 weeks, once things are ramped up and there's drones out and about, that we'll be able to pull off and start a few new splits with try and get at least 2 or 3 hives going this spring. So as you see, that frame has only the starter strip, nothing built up on it, though it did have a few bees working on it, like they're deciding whether to build it up or just making sure they've got everything as solid as they like it. We started building just a little bit, 3 or 4 little walnut shaped size pieces built down there. Another frame that's pretty full, but this is one that's got a black plastic foundation, and the girls don't seem to like it all that well. It's of the 10 frames that were in the hive when the swarm moved in, it's the only one that's not totally drawn out. And it's about 90% drawn on one side and about 80% drawn on the other. So this frame had a little bit of burr comb on the edges and the top, so clean it off while it's out. I guess you can see that that's where one of the girls decided she liked my upper arm. Gave me a pretty good shot. And now I'm starting to move the frames back, closing them back up towards the side that's of the box that's closest to the camera, so I can put those final 2 frames back in. So the two brood boxes, the white one on the top is about 75% full. The bottom one is like 50% full. So now getting the girls down off the top so I can put the upper honey super on to be able to check it out. Just cleaning up a little bit of burr comb here and there to a little bit of smoke across the inner cover. I'll put a couple puffs underneath it once I get it broken loose. I could see that most of the frames were almost completely drawn out, and about 4 or 5 in the center seem to be mainly capped. So and it's nice looking honey. So we know that the girls are certainly in good shape to finish off the winter and start ramping up for spring. We're starting to be able to see the odd bud on some of the evergreens and some of the willows in the area, so we know we've got pollen starting to come in. As I was checking the upper of the two brood boxes, I could see at least 3 different colors of pollen stored away in the frames, so we know we're doing pretty good. So this is John of John's Bees and Honey, working here at Steve's place. Steve is trying to get back into beekeeping, and I'm trying to help him out and help him learn a few things, and hopefully I'm learning a little bit about the things that you need to know to be looking after bees here in South Carolina as opposed to at home in Ontario where I am for the summer. But we'll see what happens over the next few weeks, and hoping that we're going to have some good success with being able to make spring splits here in a few weeks. So keep watching, and we'll talk to you later.